Well, Markus Soder will have to respect what he basically said yesterday. It will be very difficult for him to challenge this decision, because what he said yesterday was slightly different to what he said last week. Last week he said, well, he will respect the CDU's decision without clarifying who he considers legitimate to speak on behalf of the CDU. Yesterday, after kind of following the week-long turmoil and internal divisions that this has caused, he stated that that obviously he respects the elected bodies, the elected leadership bodies in the CDU, and considers them legitimate to take these decisions. So if basically now he's in a position that he basically would need to follow up on that, so there will be heavy pressure on him to accept that decision.
Over the past week or so, and how much damage has this indecision and these arguments over who should be candidate, how much damage has this done the centre-right, given that the Greens, for example, are united on theirs?
Right. I think this is the one thing that is really certain at this stage, right? So, like, it is certain that this has been very damaging for the CDU-CSU. I mean, first of all, the decision to nominate a chancellor candidate is already fairly late in the day at this stage. Displaying such a high level of internal divisions in an election year is never good for a party. But also, it has exposed quite significant reservations against Armin Laschet at the local party level, which does justify doubts with regard to whether the party will actually fully, or the party base will fully commit to campaign on behalf of Laschet in this upcoming election. And all these are characteristics that in German politics we usually traditionally associate with the Greens rather than with the CDU-CSU, which makes this not only a very unusual situation, but also underlines the impressive unity with which the Greens have actually confirmed their candidate.
The polls suggest quite a close race at the moment between the centre-right and the Greens, just a few points behind. How serious a challenge do you think they can maintain over the summer and going into September?
I mean, this is very hard to predict at this stage. I think it's very likely that the Greens will be part of the next federal government. Where it is possible, but very hard to predict whether they will lead this government. They're still, as you said, trailing in the polls, like between 5 to 10%, depending on the polling institute and the time of the survey. And it also said, like recent polls suggest, that after the drop that the Christian Democrats suffered last month, they seem to remain at that level, or like some polls indicate that they gained again slightly, so not further losing. So this gap remains, and it's questionable whether coalitions that would not include the Christian Democrats would actually have a majority. So these potential coalition formats are very, very narrow to the kind of border of a majority. So there is a lot of uncertainty with regard to whether the Greens might actually lead the government, but I think it's likely that they will be part of the next government.